Hey everyone, today we're going to be learning how to go from this to this. Alright, so today we're going to be learning how to set up a bioactive enclosure for mourning geckos, and this is actually also going to work for a lot of other fruit nectar eating tropical small geckos. We're going to be going from the bottom all the way to the top, transforming this enclosure to a gorgeous bioactive enclosure for a gecko. We're going to have all the products that we use in the description below so you can follow along and shop for the products that you need. Let's get started. So the first thing we want to do to our enclosure is give it a nice background. So we're going to use one of these Pangea smooth cork backgrounds. We like these for mourning geckos because of the smoothness actually allows for fewer crevices for geckos to sneak into, or eggs or crickets to sneak into, as well as it helps us find babies. So we're going to attach this to the back of this tank. The only thing you're going to need to secure your background to your tank is silicone. You want to make sure you're using 100% silicone so you don't have any extra stuff inside the tube that could be hazardous to your animal. So the first thing we're going to do is take our enclosure and we're going to lay it on its back. Now that we have our tank on its back, we're going to open it up so we can access it a little bit more easily, and we're going to start applying silicone in a big S, and we're going to put two really heavy lines around the sides just in case there's any gaps. That way the silicone will fill it so we don't have crickets or little baby mourning geckos getting stuck in there. So you want to make sure that while you're applying this that you're putting a pretty generous amount on the sides just to make sure we're filling those gaps. So we've got our silicone nicely placed. We got quite a bit of it on there, feeling pretty confident that it's going to stay secure. So we're going to add our background. We're just going to insert it in nice and smoothly and drop it in place. Stick it in here. You can see why I applied the silicone to the glass instead of the background, because otherwise I'd be smearing silicone all over the sides as I insert the background. So now that we've got our background in place, it looks pretty good. If you had any gaps on the side, the extra silicone that we put there should squeeze up, and you can use something like a cocoa coir, peat moss, you could use orchid bark or tree fern fiber, or topsoil, or something else of your choice to sprinkle over top of that silicone to hide it so it doesn't detract from the aesthetic of your enclosure. So the next thing to do for us is put a little weight on it, and we're gonna set this onto it right in the center there to hold it down to make sure there's no bends or warps in it, so it's nicely secured to our background. And we're gonna leave that there overnight and come back to this enclosure tomorrow to do the rest of it. So we've given the silicone 24 hours to set, so we know it's nice and cured. So we're ready to take off our weight and start putting in our drainage layer. So now we're ready to put in our aqua balls. We already prepared these, and if you want to learn how to prepare them, check out our video there where we show you how to prepare them and talk a little bit about Pangea aqua balls. So we're going to insert these in. It's going to get a little loud. All right, and now we're going to spread this out. There's a couple reasons why we use a drainage layer when building tropical bioactive setups. Allowing the soil to drain will prevent root rot by not having overly wet soil, allowing oxygen to penetrate the soil and get into the roots, as well as preventing anaerobic bacteria from building up in your soil, which can be very damaging to your plants. The drainage layer below acts as an aquifer, holding some water, adding to the humidity and helping keeping it stable. The added surface area of all of the aquaballs also creates a habitat for beneficial bacteria, as well as extends the habitat for your springtails. So now that we've got our aquaballs all set up, now it's time to put drainage mesh on top of it so we can separate our drainage layer from our substrate. And check out our videos on our brand new drainage mesh, links in the description. All right, so now we're just gonna lay our drainage layer in. We're gonna make sure we get the front edge nice and flush to prevent any substrate from falling down. And we like to allow a little bit of the back edge to curl up to prevent any substrate from sneaking down back there. We're just gonna get it nice and tucked in and set up, and that's it. All right, so now we've got our drainage mesh in place. The next step is to add our substrate. And because this is a tropical vivarium and we're putting tropical plants in it, we're gonna use a tropical substrate. So we are actually gonna use Pangea's ABG mix. This is a great substrate for tropical plants. It creates a healthy environment that both drains well and holds on to moisture, which is gonna be ideal for all the plants that we're using. It also has charcoal in it, which is gonna help with chemical filtration. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about ABG, check out our video in the description where we also talk about how to prepare it. So we've got some already prepared, it's nice and wet, and it's ready to stick into our enclosure. So now we're just gonna start putting it in. If you don't use gloves, then I would recommend washing your hands so you're not introducing any extra bacteria or other biologicals into your enclosure. So we're just gonna start laying it in by hand. I like to try to tuck it to the edges first, trying to get the substrate barrier nice and secure before putting the whole batch in. After you get it all tucked to the edges, we recommend starting to add more towards the back to build up a deeper substrate, allowing for more root space so you can have nice lush plants. All right, so we've got our ABG in place and now it's time to hardscape. We already knew we wanted a cork background, so we did that first, and that's part of our hardscape. Now we're gonna add in some other elements. We're gonna keep it pretty simple, and we're gonna use a couple pieces of cork bark and some manzanita. The manzanita is gonna offer some branches for climbing. It's also gonna offer a little bit of a nice texture in the terrarium, and we're gonna use a couple pieces of cork bark I'm gonna lay up in here that's gonna provide climbing spots, hiding spots, a little bit of a basking spot, as well as the texture of the cork is gonna help the mourning geckos or other geckos that we put in here with shedding. So let's get them started. Let's get them put in. We're gonna stick this big piece in here, and I'm gonna wedge this one in here. And I wanna get these really tight. And even though a mourning gecko or small gecko won't be able to dislodge this, I want to make sure that if the terrarium gets shaken, the cork bark won't fall down and potentially damage the plants or the animals. So we're going to stick this little piece of manzanita in here as well. We're just going to stick it up front, giving some spots for us to catch our mourning geckos climbing around on, and it's going to fit in nicely right there. All right, so now we've got our hardscape all in place. Next thing up for us is gonna be putting our plants in. We've got a bunch of plants here that I've already prepared. We washed all the roots, removed all the dirt we could from them, and just got them sitting in a small pool of water right now, getting ready to plant. So we've got some classic plants here, like golden pothos, philodendron brantianum, and red emerald. We also have some Syndapsis exotica, as well as a variety of begonias that are all gonna add a nice silvery tone into the tank, contrasting with the warm background, as well as some peacock moss that's gonna look really good, especially when the blue comes in across the floor of our enclosure. So we've got our wash plants all here. We're gonna start planting them, but I'm gonna need to remove some of this hardscape so I can access the back, which is where I'm gonna put the vines first so they have an ability to climb up the background. So let's remove the hardscape right now. So we're just gonna set this to the side. Get this out of here. Gonna get this golden pothos in first. This big plant is gonna give a lot of cover really fast. At the beginning, you might feel that your enclosure looks a little sparse depending on how many plants you put in it, but depends on what you use. You could have a very lush enclosure very quickly. And this is actually gonna end up filling up this top area pretty fast. So we're just gonna get these roots planted in here and make a little more space for them. So as you can see, I've got this plant draped over the top. It is gonna be in the enclosure, but this will help keep it out of the way once I put that hardscape back in. So we're gonna add some more vines. This is Philodendron brantianum. It's got this nice silver pattern on it. It's gonna look really good, contrasting the warm color of this background. We're gonna get this planted along the background. Just gonna find a position that I think it'll do best in. Stick it here. All right, so we're gonna stick this other cutting of brantianum in pretty close to this one, just to make the back wall as lush as possible. It is gonna take time for them to grow in. Next up, we're gonna get this syndapsis in. So we've got a couple small rootings of this. We're gonna tuck this in on the left side here, and we're gonna put this in a position for it to crawl up the cork bark flat that we're putting in on the left side here. So I'm gonna position these in a way that I think will set them up to climb that cork bark. Okay, now that I have these plants in place, I'm gonna put my hardscape back, make any adjustments that I need to, and then start planting the rest of these. The syndapsis is in a good spot, but I'm gonna move over one of these brantianums so it is more likely to climb from here. Some cork bark can be really friendly and offers little lips that you can actually hook the plant onto to get it started climbing, like I did here. You might have some leaves that end up sitting upside down based on how you planted them in, but once light starts coming in on the enclosure, all those leaves will end up facing upwards towards the light naturally. All right, I'm gonna stick this beautiful begonia in, adding to that silver sheen that we've got as a theme in the enclosure. I'm gonna stick this right around here. Yeah, so because this particular plant it's already got a nice stem started and it's nice and tall, it's gonna sit really well in the middle here and be a little bit of a focal point. We'll get this little philodendron in as well. While we've got this manzanita out, we're actually gonna stick this in right here, and as this plant matures, it'll start to have larger leaves, and it's going to tend to be pretty upright and compact, so it'll look nice on its own here. All right, so we're gonna put this Hatakoa silver begonia in on the left side here in this opening. I'm gonna stick it in right there. Tuck this in. And we're gonna get this beautiful looking yellow jacket begonia in. It's gonna come up towards the front here. All right. And last but not least, we're gonna get some of this peacock moss going in there as well. I'm actually gonna split a little bit of it off to spread it out a little bit. So you just wanna carefully find some gaps and then just pull it apart a little bit. Gonna get this section and this section in. This big one's gonna come over on our bigger opening. It's gonna come up front here. Salaginella can be a little bit difficult to plant bare root. So you wanna get the roots towards the bottom and then gently wiggle them in and just try to get them poked in. It's likely that some of the plant will die off at the beginning, but as long as your terrarium conditions are good, it's a pretty hardy plant and should be able to start to carpet over whatever available space it has. So we're gonna get this other piece in on the left here. All right, so we can put this branch back into its spot. I'm just going to insert it in right here. Just gonna be careful not to disturb the plants too much. Right, so now we've got our plants in their place. The next thing we're gonna do is add in our biodegradables and then our microfauna. We're gonna stick a magnolia pod in because they look awesome and springtails love them. We're gonna tuck this in right around the back here. You can place it anywhere. If you're really looking to get a view of your springtails while they're in action, you might wanna place it a little bit more towards the front. We're gonna tuck in the back here because we're gonna have great eyes on it anyways. Next up is to get our leaf litter in. We're gonna use mulberry and guava leaves. So I'm gonna open these packages, crunch these leaves, and start covering some of the ABG with them. So we're gonna get a nice healthy pile of these, get them a little crunched, and then start sprinkling it in. Gonna add some mulberry leaves as well. The isopods love these. And you want to position these throughout the tank. And I'm going to try to cover some of the ABG up with them and then make some adjustments to make sure my plants aren't completely covered by them. All right, so we got our leaf litter in place. So now we're going to add our springtails and our isopods. First up is the springtails. All right, so we're just gonna add these in throughout the enclosure. Just gonna kind of dump them in a couple spots. In hindsight, I wish I would have put these springtails in before the leaf litter, but it'll work out just fine for them. So we're just gonna hide some of this peat moss underneath these leaves, and the springtails are gonna find their home. Next up, we're gonna put in our isopods. We chose Porcelionides pruinosis, powder orange, because they are excellent for tropical environments. They breed really well. They're great as detritivores, and they're non-aggressive, so we're not gonna be worried about them with the isopods, springtails, or eating our plants. All right, so now we've got our springtails and isopods in our enclosure. We're gonna let them find their little homes, start to get established. Next up, we're gonna put in our ledge. So we are gonna be using a Pangea small acrylic ledge. We're using the suction cup powered one. We really like these for small geckos. They're great for having water and food available for your gecko. So because we're gonna be using the silicone dishes, we're also gonna be using the adapters. So we're gonna insert these in right now. They easily just click right into place. Just gonna snap them in. I'm gonna just put my silicone dishes right in here. We love the dishes because they're so reusable and environmentally friendly. So we're just gonna tuck those in. They fit nice and secure. They're not gonna fall out. And we're just gonna put our ledge in right here. It's gonna sit nicely right next to these branches, making it very accessible to our gecko that we'll be putting in. All right, so now we've got our acrylic ledge and our dishes all set. Next thing we're gonna add is a Pangea acrylic insert to the top of the tank. This is gonna help seal in some of that humidity and limit the evaporation to just this vent here, creating a nice humid tropical environment. All right, so now we've got our acrylic insert set up. Now it's time to add in our lighting. Most reptiles are gonna benefit from UVB, so we're gonna make sure that we're providing that for this enclosure as well. It's also gonna benefit some of the plants too. So we're gonna be adding in a Reptile Systems Zone 1 T5. We're gonna stick this towards the front of the tank here. Just gonna set it nicely there. That turned on. So we want to put this towards the front of the tank, allowing for shade in the back. And then the other light we're going to add to make sure that we have really successful plant growth is going to be a Pangea Viv Bright LED. So let's just get this turned on. And we're going to set this right up here as well. And now we have an environment set up perfectly to host these plants, the isopods, the springtails, as well as many small reptiles that could easily fit into this terrarium. Now, all we've got to do is let it establish, get the plants so they're nice and rooted in, and the isopods and springtails start breeding, start eating some of the leaf litter, and then we'll be ready in a month to add our reptile. Thanks for watching the video. We're glad to be able to show you how to set up a bioactive enclosure for a mourning gecko, and we'd love to hear what bioactive enclosures you're setting up and what animals they're for. Also, if you want to see more content from Pangea Reptile, especially bioactive content, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.